Hi, I'm Mark from uSkinned, and in this video I want to take you through the upgrade process on an Umbraco Cloud project using uSkinned Site Builder. So what we're going to do is go from Umbraco 13 to Umbraco 17 on Umbraco Cloud and upgrading uSkinned Site Builder along the way. Now I've upgraded sites on Umbraco Cloud before, but I've never gone from 13 to 17, so this will be a first. What we first want to do, I've got an Umbraco Cloud project, is clone it to local. Now, last week I tried cloning this project to local, which didn't work, and it highlighted an issue with the cloning process to new environments. When uSkinned Site Builder starts up, it tries to speak to the database, and when you clone a project locally from Umbraco Cloud, it creates a SQLite database. So uSkinned Site Builder was trying to speak to the database before it was created. So what we did was we released a patch release yesterday, which fixes that issue. So when I do the clone, I'll immediately have to upgrade to 6.4.4. Now, because I'm upgrading to that version, I'll go through a minor upgrade locally just to demonstrate that. But it's something to note that if you're cloning an Umbraco Cloud project that is running version 13, you will need to upgrade to 6.4.4 if you're cloning to a new environment. So first of all, what we want to do is get the clone URL, and you'll notice that I've got two environments here. So if you're running upgrades on Umbraco Cloud, you will need to fire up a new environment to do that. But once the upgrade process is complete, you can delete the environment that you used for the upgrade, so that you're not spending any money if you don't want to have a development in live or development staging in live environment. So if I go into the project and get the clone URL, I use source tree because I just like to see a visual representation of my check-ins. And what's going on in source control. So I've got a folder set up here that I'm going to clone to. And I might need to log into this again. I think it's just taking a while. There we go, and then I'll clone that. That's currently cloning, should be fairly quick, it's not a big project. There we go, and then what I want to do is run my project, open my solution. And before I run anything, so this is an important step before you run anything. So open the project file. I want to change to 6.4.4. Actually, before I do that, I'll open the cloud website just so you can see everything running. So we'll go to the website. So you can see that I've got a working version on Umbraco Cloud. I'll log into the back office. So you can see I'm running uSkinned version 6.2.5 and Umbraco version 13.7.0. So we're going to upgrade right to the top versions that we can from version 13. So yeah, you can see that it's all working. So I'll close that. And then go back to our local copy. So we've changed the uSkinned Site Builder version to 6.4.4. Another thing that you want to do before you run locally is go to your app settings. Now, because I've ran upgrades and pulled to local environments before with this cloud project, these settings are in place. But when you install uSkinned Site Builder, it runs content migrations and schema migrations. So content, setting up the content, schema migrations, setting up data types, document types, other things. That's all happened. You don't want that to run on again on new environments, because the process of restoring to your local environment will run, will set everything up for you. It's already been, as it says, what it's doing is it's creating a copy of your dev site or your live site, whatever, to local, and it's already been installed, so you don't want to run that again. There is, and I'll leave in the description of this video some links that I refer to, but there's a page on Umbraco's website explaining why you don't want to run schema and content migrations when you're cloning to a new environment. So that's the page for that. So you just make sure that setting's in place. And so we've got 6.4.4 we're going to build. Okay, and you can see that there's an error come up here on builds that's incompatibility with Umbraco Forms. So uSkinned Site Builder has a dependency on Umbraco Forms, and this new version 6.4.4 is looking for 13.5 or above, so we'll change to 13.5 for now, just to get it going. Build it again. And we will run that. And we should get the restore process kicking in. There we go. So what's happening here is the SQLite database is getting created. So if I jump into the data folder, you can see SQLite database is sitting there. At this point, the database structure, the content of the database will contain document types, data types, settings, changes to media, that kind of thing. So as you can see, when with the project running locally, I've got two options here. So if I go straight into Umbraco, I won't have any content, but everything else will be set up. So to restore content, you click restore. Now this will take as long as, it depends on how big your site is, how much content you've got. We've not got a lot of content on this site, so it should be fairly quick. Just wait on that running. And while that's running, don't know if there's anything else I can talk about at this point. Okay, because we've upgraded uSkinned Site Builder, if you've watched a previous video, you'll know about the uSync step for running upgrades. So you do need uSync installed locally. Because I've ran upgrades on this project before, you can see that there's a reference to uSync here that's commented out. The reason it's commented out is because I don't want to push uSync back to cloud. It's not needed there. It's only needed locally for these upgrades. And I think there's incompatibility with uSync and deploy installed at the same time. I might be wrong on that, but I seem to remember something about that in the past. So we will, once everything's restored, we will install uSync so that we can complete the upgrade process. So our content is coming through it, and we'll sign in. So you can now see we've got uSkinned Site Builder installed locally. We've got all our content. If I jump to the front end, there'll be an error probably. It's a license error. So again, the license that was on that environment was for an older version and it's over a year old, so we need to upgrade the license. So I'll just close this. And I think I've got a license here. Upgrade the license. It goes in this folder. And we'll start up again. And we'll need to force build just to get a new instance running. And then again, what we should see is an error here because we've not fully upgraded uSkinned. This video isn't really about the uSkinned upgrade at this point. It's more going from 13 to 17. But what we need to do is upgrade uSkinned. So first of all, I want to install uSync. And I've got a note of the latest uSync version, which is that one. And then let's run that again. And then we'll log into the back office and we'll do the uSkinned upgrade steps for going to that 6.4.4. So first of all, what you want to do is go to the USN updates folder for the version that you've installed, copy the views. I'll just run through this quickly. And then we want to get the uSync update files, copy them, and delete the ones in this folder, the uSync folder, because these represent the old version that we're upgrading from. And then we want to jump to settings, uSync, run an import. Now you can see that there's an error there. Now that's because we're going past a particular version. If you check the change log on the uSkinned website, you'll see if you go by version 6.4.1, there's an issue that happens when you're running a uSync import. That's because we moved a property from one document type to another, causes uSync import to fail, and this tells you how to fix it. So we need to go to document types, compositions, component minimum settings, save that, and then rerun the uSync import. And it should run successfully this time. Always click. Doesn't have any negative effects if you run this more than once, and I tend to run the imports more than once to make sure that all changes are imported properly. Sometimes they don't all get imported when you run it the first time, so you run it a couple of times. So you can see everything's happened there. There was also changes to dictionary items, so you run a content import. Just run that again. And then if we go to the site, so again, because so something else to note, so because we've upgraded uSkinned Site Builder, always recommend that you save and publish the design node. So let's find the design node that the site's using, which is Orkney. What this does is regenerates the style sheet for the site. So there might be changes to the way that style sheet is generated between versions. So you want to save and publish so that you've got the correct style sheet for the version you're running. And we'll go to home. And we should have a copy of the site on Umbraco Cloud running locally, and we do. Everything is looking good. So what I want to do first is push these upgrades to Umbraco Cloud before we go to 17. So because we're doing quite a significant upgrade at this point, I want to get a copy of, well, I want to back up the database so that we could potentially roll back. So that is in configuration backups. We've got one there. I'll just delete that one. I want to create a backup. So this is before upgrade to latest version of Umbraco 13, Umbraco 13 and uSkinned site builder. Put the version in 6.4.4 and create a backup. Okay, so that'll run in the background. Actually, one step I've forgotten again is, so when I was speaking to Umbraco Cloud Support about my cloning issue, although I solved that, they recommended upgrading all the other things related to Umbraco Cloud and Umbraco CMS to the latest version, so that you don't have any issues with deployment, potential issues. So I've taken a note of all the latest versions for Umbraco Cloud on version 13 and Umbraco CMS. So we'll upgrade these versions first locally. So we're running Umbraco CMS 13.7.0. So we're going to go to the latest one, which is 13.14.0. And I'll just copy that in, so I don't need to go through and look at them. Figure out, not there. Right, okay. So we've upgraded the package references to all the latest versions. I'll build that again. And I'll close these. And we will run. So that's going to upgrade the Umbraco CMS and Umbraco Deploy and Umbraco Forms. So behind the scenes, the reason why this is taking a while to start up is there will be Umbraco migrations that are running against the database to get it in line with the new version. So that looked as if it all went fine. And we're now running Umbraco version 13.14.0 and uSkinned version 6.4.4. So that is that upgraded locally. Now we want to push to live. So if I open source tree, you can see all the changes that have been made. So we basically want to push all of this to Umbraco Cloud. All looks good. I wonder, just in case, because I've seen issues with this in the past, is when there's changes made to document types with uSync, it doesn't necessarily create the UDA files which Umbraco Deploy use to sync between environments. So if you go into the local site, go to settings, deploy, there's an option to export schema to data files. So this will make sure that the UDA files that you've got locally that you're about to push to live exactly represent the database schema. So let's export that. And I think deployment operation in process. That's the one, right? So that's us. So that'll make sure that our UDA files are correct. We're finished with uSync at this point, so we'll comment out uSync. Just build that again. And I think that's it before we push. Yep. So let's push the live. Did look like a lot changed there actually. So the UD files were not correct until we did that step. So that's very important to remember. So stage selected, and we will commit that to Umbraco Cloud. So upgrade to Umbraco 13.14.0 and uSkinned Site Builder 6.4.4. Commit. This might take a while, so I might pause the video here, but we'll see how it goes. I'd rather not pause the video where possible so that you can see this in real time. And everything seems to be going. But I might pause this just so that you're not seeing this check-in process if it takes ages. And we'll just jump back and see if this says anything. Nothing yet. Okay, so I'm going to pause at this point just so that you don't need to wait on everything getting checked in, and then I'll come back when everything's getting restored on the live environment. Okay, we're back, and unfortunately the deployment to Umbraco Cloud failed. So I decided to cut my losses for the night and start again today, so just picking up where we left off. So the push to cloud worked, and then if I go to the Umbraco Cloud environment, you'll see that the CMS is 13.7.0. It should be, if everything went well, 13.14.0. So if we go back to cloud and go to the environment logs, and then make sure you're on development, because that's where we were pushing to deployments, and you can see it's failed. So if I click into the message, it'll tell us what went wrong, and it appears to be this version conflict for Microsoft extensions logging abstractions. So I did a bit of digging, and the Umbraco Cloud storage providers.azure blog, which I've set to 13.2.0, references this Microsoft extensions login abstractions, but it's got to be greater than or equal to 10.0.3, and Umbraco Deploy Cloud is referencing the Microsoft extensions login abstractions as greater than 6 but less than 10. So this seems to be the issue. When I jumped on Nougat for this, I noticed that 13.2 was only released last week. So I'm wondering if this is an issue that no one's actually picked up on yet. So what I'm going to do is go back to 13.1.0 and see if the deployment will work from that. So this is genuinely the first time I've tried this. So we'll change it to 13.1.0 and hope that deployment will work. So we've got our change to project file commit, and we'll just say down upgraded, and it was this package from 13.2.0 to 13.1.0 test issue with deployment. And fingers crossed it works this time. So commit that and let's see what happens. And hopefully this will work and it will be quick. Updating branch master, deployment, running custom deployment commands. Let's get started. Issues, guides, available. Current projects to restore. I'm not sure how long this will take. So again, I might pause the video at this point just so that you're not sitting around watching nothing happening. Go back to this. And okay, I'm going to pause again and then I'll start once it's deployed. Okay, so deployment's worked. You can see that we're now running 13.14.0. So if I log into the back office, we've got the latest version of uSkinned for Umbraco 13, which is 6.4.4, and Umbraco version 13.4.0. So we'll save and publish design node again, and we'll go to the site, and hopefully everything's running. There we go. So that's us successfully upgraded. Still not gone to 17 yet, but we wanted to make sure that the project was in a good state for going to 17, so we've upgraded to the latest version of Umbraco 13 and the latest version of uSkinned for version 13. So first, what I want to do is deploy to live. Now this will take a bit of time again because it's got to push all the files and then build the project. So I'll pause again while I'm doing this, but so I'll kick it off first. So deploy to live. So it's upgrade to 13.14.0 and uSkinned 6.4.4. And we'll deploy changes. So that's that in progress, and I'll come back when that's finished. Okay, so deployment went well to live. So we're now on 13.14.0. If we log into the back office, we're running the versions we should be. Go to design node and we'll save and publish this. And if we go to the front end, okay, so we've now upgraded the live project, so everything is in a stable state for going to Umbraco 17. So we'll close them. So this is the big one. And we want to do this upgrade locally as well. So to start off, I've got there's some guides on Umbraco's website. So there's guides for doing major upgrades. You find information in there when going to doing major upgrades, breaking changes, that kind of thing. There's also a guide on version specific things that you need to be aware of. So we'll go through that when we're doing the upgrade. So let's go back to our local project. So what we want to do is upgrade our local project to Umbraco 17. So we've got our package references here. I want to upgrade these all to the relevant versions from Umbraco 17. So I've taken a copy of that. So I'll just overwrite that. So that's us. You can see it's all referencing the Umbraco 17 versions. Umbraco 17 target framework is .NET 10, so we want to change that to 10. And in one of the guides that I linked to, there's this note that you should delete the license files locally and put this into your app settings. So this obviously regenerates the licenses for your Umbraco 17 project. So we'll copy this part and we'll update app settings, and it just, so where did that go again? Just double check where that goes. So it's Umbraco licenses, so stick that there. And it's said to delete the licenses, Umbraco licenses. So keep your uSkinned site builder license. We'll delete the deploy license, and we'll delete the Umbraco Forms license, so they'll get regenerated supposedly. Sorry, didn't mean to close that. And then we'll go back to the project, and you'll notice that there's package references to site builder themes here. Now we can delete them. We'll get if we left them in there, we would get a package saying that these packages aren't compatible with Umbraco 17. So we don't need them. After these are installed, all they do is, there's no files or anything that get installed when you install like a starter kit or a theme. What they do is they run a migration process and install demo content and designs. But that's all content within the Umbraco back office. So removing these won't remove anything from your project. So it's safe to remove that. We also want to upgrade to the latest version of uSync for Umbraco 17. So let's find the Nougat page. uSync. And it is version, so we want 17.3.5. And we'll uncomment that out. 17.3.5. And as I said, I don't know if I said earlier that this is a default setup of an Umbraco project. So it's for Models Builder, it's running in memory auto. Razor runtime compilation is obsolete with .NET 10, and in-memory auto depends on Razor runtime compilation, so we need to reference Umbraco CMS development .backoffice if you're running in-memory auto. So I've got a copy of that package as well. So we want to add a reference to that, otherwise your project won't work. If you're running in-memory auto for Models Builder. Another thing to note is that with Umbraco 17, there's no startup CS file. So what we want to do, I've got a copy of what should be in the program CSS file. So if you install a clean version of Umbraco 17, you can copy the code for that. So I've got a copy of it. I'll just delete startup, and in program CSS I'll put what should be there. And let's build the project. Am I missing something? Yeah. So let's build the project. And that built okay. So if we run now, close all this, don't need that anymore. So the front end should fail because we've upgraded uSkinned Site Builder. We'll log into the back office. I suppose the back office will be available once the upgrade is completed. So I think a migration is still running in the back end here. So we need to sign in. So we're logged in. You can see that we're running Umbraco 17, so the upgrade to Umbraco 17 all went well. We've got 7.0.2 installed, but if I go to the front end, so the layout's slightly broken here, so that's to do with the uSync step that we need to run to update everything, and you see the front end fails. Okay, so that was to be expected. So what we want to do is go to our updates folder again, and it's 7.0.2 we're going to this time, so we want all the views. We'll go to the views folder and paste that in, and we'll go back to get the uSync files. So copy that, uSync. So it's the V17 one that we'll be importing from. Delete, paste. I'm going to delete the V9 one. So we've got the V17 import folder. We'll go to uSync and make sure that that's where it's imported from. So it is, it's importing from the V17 folder. And we'll run the import. So import's now complete. It took a bit longer than I thought it was going to take there, but it eventually got there. So if we, again, save and publish, it was Orkney. And then if we go to the front end of the site, we should be running an upgraded version. There we go. So we're now on Umbraco 17. So the upgrade from 13 to 17 was actually really straightforward. And that's us ready to go to push to Umbraco Cloud now. One other thing, I just want to check what's hanging about here. So these are old, in that plugins folder, there's old files related to Umbraco 13, so we don't need these anymore. I don't think it causes any harm if you leave them, but I'm just going to delete that uSkinned folder from app plugins. These are just to indicate that the package is installed for the package marketplace. So again, you can delete them if you want, it doesn't matter. So I think that's us ready to push to Umbraco Cloud. I'll just look at our changes. We'll stage all and we'll commit. So this is the big one. This is pushing to Umbraco Cloud. Actually, I forgot a step, so I'm just going to minimize this a second. One of the things you need to do, you noticed we upgraded to .NET 10 locally, so we also need to do that on our environments, and I think that is in configuration. Let's see. So where do we go for that? So environments, is it environments? Nope. Insights, configuration. Clicked about too fast there. So configuration I'm going to need to look at the documentation for this to find where it is. So the cloud documentation for major upgrades. So an Umbraco Cloud project running the latest version of current Umbraco CMS. Enable.NET. So we go to configuration, advanced, and runtime settings section. So it's configuration, advanced. We scroll down to runtime. So development, we want to change to .NET 10. This change will affect your environment. Restarted. Do you wish to apply these changes? And say yes. Confirm. And then I don't know why that's 10. Right, so 10. Yeah. And then live, we want to go to, well, we won't go to 10 yet on live in case that breaks the actual live site. Doesn't matter on this one because I just use it for testing, but yeah, I won't change that just now. So we go back to push these changes. So we're upgrading to Umbraco 17.5.1 and uSkinned site builder 7.0.2. And here we go. Deployment's now complete. That did take a while, so I'm glad I paused at that point. But after I deployed, because I was sitting waiting, I've actually thought of something that I've missed, and I'm wondering if it will make a difference. So what I want to do is go back to my local copy, and sign in. I never re-exported the UDA files. So earlier in the video I said that exporting the UDA files is a good idea after you've done upgrades on any environment, just in case those upgrades didn't recreate the UDA files. So if I go to settings, and then settings, deploy, and we're getting errors. I don't know if it's because I'm just, I don't know why we're getting errors there, but what I'll do is extract the schema from Umbraco and output to the UDA files and disk. So when I do this, I want to see if it's made any changes to the files that I've got locally. So it's done that, and then if I go back to source control, let's see if any UDA files, and they have. So let's recheck these in. Let's push all of this to cloud. Stage all. Okay. Come on. So that was a export of UDA files, and we'll commit that. So that was really fast that time because we were just dealing with UDA files. So I've refreshed this page on Umbraco Cloud, and you can see that we're now running 17.5.1. So we have upgraded the development environment. Let's log into the back office. Just close what I'm not using so we don't get confused. So back office, and we've got no errors, so it looks as if it's worked. We've got front end error. So what I'll do is I'll restart. So whenever I see anything like that, I always restart. It could just be something to do with changing the environment, so we'll restart from .NET, I think it was .NET 7 or .NET 8 to .NET 10. Restart the environment, and if I refresh that, I think Umbraco Cloud gives you a nice message to say that something's happening. Let's see what the front end says. Yeah, so they've got a nice message now if your website's restarting. I think that's a new thing. And it's saying it'll automatically check till it's restarted. So restarting didn't work, and I've got this error, unknown entity type macro. Now, I did a quick check. Umbraco 17 doesn't have macros anymore. That's an old Umbraco feature. So this is a step I wasn't aware of. If I go local and I go into Umbraco deploy revision, you look for anything that says macro in here. So there it is. So Umbraco Cloud, when it's importing the UDA files for Umbraco 17, is falling over because this macro is sitting. Now, uSkinned Site Builder has never used macros, so it's safe to delete that. So delete that file, and then go back to source control, and then check that in, commit, remove unused macro UDA, commit that, and this should be fairly quick. Should be all good. Deployment successful. Okay, so go back to your cloud environment, log in at the back office. Close that one. Go to settings, deploy, and then we want to re-import. So update Umbraco schema based on information contained in the UDE files. So with any luck, this should work and remove the error in cloud. So deployment operation in progress. So deployment's completed. Doesn't look like there's any errors. And on Umbraco Cloud, refresh this. Nothing there, but it all looks good. So if we go to content, save this, and then go to the home page, should have, that's us, upgraded to Umbraco 17. So we've upgraded now the dev environment from Umbraco 13 to Umbraco 17. No errors here, that's refreshed. So the next step is to deploy this to live. So we didn't change the live environment, so it's still running Umbraco 13, and we didn't change the .NET framework version. So we want to change that to 10 now. Confirm. And then what we want to do is push our development environment to live. So again, this is going to take a while. So once I hit deploy to live, we'll pause the video and then I'll come back. So deploy to live. So we're upgrading I can't spell. I'm saying upgrading, get Umbraco in the brain now. Jeez, can't spell. Upgrading Umbraco. So it's 13.14.0 to what we're going to again. So it's 17.15.1. And this should be the last step. So deployment in progress. So I'll pause just now. So deployment's now in progress. So this is the next screen that you see. Deployment can take some time to complete. So I've jumped straight to the environment just so that you can see that it's completed without any errors. So we're now running Umbraco 17.5.1 on the live environment. So if we jump to the back office, you can see that uSkinned versions upgraded, Umbraco versions upgraded, and then we want to save and publish the design node as usual to regenerate the style sheet. And then if we jump to the site, everything's running and the upgrade's been successful. So what we've done in this video is taken you through the upgrade process from Umbraco 13 to Umbraco 17 on Umbraco Cloud. I've shown you some of the mistakes that can be made along the way. There's a lot of steps to follow, but hopefully this has demonstrated how you can upgrade your own projects on Umbraco Cloud, and highlighted some of the issues that you might find along the way. So I might as well show you some of the new features that have been introduced. Now, when we upgraded to uSkinned Site Builder to work with Umbraco 17, it was more of a straight port to work with the new back office, but we did take the opportunity to add a couple of new features. So you'll see this new option above your components, where you can actually disable the visual editor. So if I click on a component, you've got your visual editor appears, but this might be distracting to some editors. So you can basically disable that, and then if I click here, you can see that we don't have the visual editor anymore. We also added this new icon to allow you to quickly hide components that you don't want to appear on a page. So we've got a split component at the top, which is this here. So if I hide that, and you can see the icon, you can see that component is hidden. Save and publish, and that's now gone from the web page. I can add it back in again, and it's back. So thanks everybody for watching. The upgrade process on Umbraco Cloud. If you found the video useful, I would really appreciate if you like and subscribe to the uSkinned channel on YouTube. We'll be releasing more videos, and that will give you a notification when they're released if you're subscribed to the channel. And there'll be hoping there'll be lots of new videos demonstrating different things and techniques when using Umbraco and uSkinned Site Builder. Thanks for watching.